Good morning. Welcome to today's live stream event, which will focus on small business lending and equitable lending practices. I am Chris Cook, Director of the Capital Access Group at MEDC, and I am joined by Keona Cowan, who is Executive Vice President of Lending with Invest Detroit. We'll be talking about a number of issues today. Before we get started, I'll just make a note that if anyone watching has any questions, please feel free to put those into the chat and we can attempt to address those as we are moving forward. But with that said, Keona, how are you today?
Good morning, Chris. I'm wonderful.
So for anyone that may not be familiar, can you just kind of give an overview of and the various services it provides?
Absolutely, thank you. So Invest Detroit is a mission-driven lender, investor, and partner that really supports businesses and real estate projects. Our goal really is to ignite economic growth in the city of Detroit and its region. We strive to really focus on Detroiters and improving the quality of life inclusive of housing, resources, walkable neighborhoods, and equally opportunities and access to jobs and business growth. And we do that through 4 real areas of focus, that being venture capital, our seed, pre-seed, high tech, high growth organizations. We also are a commercial real estate lender. So there is a focus on the commercial corridors and creating a level of density that supports the base of the city, giving all Detroiters access to quality housing, whether it be market rate or affordable housing, naturally affordable housing. We also have an area of focus, as I mentioned, jobs is important to us, livable wage jobs, jobs with benefits. And so we support commercial and industrial businesses throughout the city of Detroit. And then lastly, which aligns with our conversation here, and that is being supportive of small businesses, whether it's supporting them by way of a growth strategy or also financing and funding small businesses that are startup in the city. As we think about the continued disinvestment and decline in population and so forth in our city, we recognize that in order for us to have thriving neighborhoods, we also need to be supportive of small businesses, neighborhood-facing small businesses in our city in order to create that basis, the economic base that will support both its residents, but the city of Detroit.
Okay. And when you talk about, that small business lending piece, what are we talking about there? I mean, in terms of types of businesses, size of loans that are provided, and you mentioned startups, kind of the, where a company needs to be in order to potentially obtain that financing.
Absolutely. So from a lending perspective, and you can find this also on our website on investdetroit.com, there is a fact sheet that tells you all about our programs, but we lend anywhere from $50,000 to $2.5 million for small businesses and commercial and industrial. And when I mention commercial and industrial, there could be cases where there are small businesses that fall into that category as well. We're looking at businesses that, have 2 employees, brick and mortar, up to a couple hundred employees. Restaurants, retail, manufacturing, it spans the whole gamut. I will tell you openly and earnestly, we do not finance any small businesses related to cannabis industry, whether it's grow, distribution, and or retail. That is our one exclusionary business within our portfolio. And, we are really strongly committed to equitable opportunities, partnering with folks with the city of Detroit, whether it's governmental agencies or quasi, as well as other community-based lenders. And we're really focused on trying to create and promote diversity in our business practices, working with those partners in the community to combat systemic racism, right? And so when we think about that, there is certainly an area of focus where we're trying to support entrepreneurs, small business owners that are in the person of color, as well as immigrants and re-entering citizens, really focused on that underserved population. And, when we think about startups, right, having a business plan, having a concept, having established practice, understanding management in that arena is important. But also we can work with other partners in the market if you're not quite ready, right, to get ready to be capital ready. So thinking about things like, I need help with a business plan. I need help with modeling pricing for my product or service. And so we use a lot of technical assistance partners. But one of the things that we have identified over the last 18, 24 months is really an importance, not only from the technical assistance to get a business or an entrepreneur ready for capital, but also management, especially for startup businesses. You're learning how to operate your business. You're learning how to manage your business. You're learning how to pivot. Pivot has been a word that we've used a great deal in 2020, but learning how to pivot, learning how to eliminate the digital divide that is also a challenge. And so we're also looking at partnering, or have been partnering with technical assistance providers to create a model that's more about coaching, right? Hands-on, teaching small business owners, things that they just don't know, and they're evolving, developing as they're evolving and developing their business. Whether it's how do I market my business? How do I handle HR matters? How do I manage my cash flow and my financial statements, and all the intimidating factors that come along with financial reporting and financial management? And so we're trying to take a holistic approach at this point to how we support small business owners, not just by providing capital and then going out, just sending you out to kind of figure out, how to manage your business. We're also creating and partnering with services to help you provide those tools and those resources to increase the probability of success and longevity.
Yeah, I mean, that's so important. Concept of, not just providing financing, but providing all that coaching and other services, to allow those companies, especially those early stage companies, to be successful. One thing you mentioned was, support of neighborhoods. I know, Invest Detroit has its strategic neighborhood initiative. Can you talk a little bit about that?
Absolutely. And I'm going to take the long way around this conversation and incorporate the broader scope of what the strategic neighborhood initiative and fund is. It is a public-private philanthropic partnership that we have developed with the city of Detroit and a number of corporate and philanthropic funders to really focus on 10 strategic neighborhoods within the city of Detroit, those that have strong bones, but just really need some additional capital in order to create a holistic and sustainable model in the market to increase access to housing, to create the level of density, but also to populate those commercial corridors with businesses that offer products and services that the neighbors, the residents within that community need. And so there's a four-pronged approach to that. And it's really surrounding the concept of a 20-minute walkable, bikeable community where everyone can get access to all the products and services they need from playing. And so, for example, in the play concept, the city is focusing through its Parks and Recs initiative on having a catalytic park, so families have access to a outdoor place to play and enjoy and congregate and collaborate. Streetscape improvements, right? Thinking about the commercial corridors and the access points to and fro. We want to make sure that those are accessible, they're in good condition, right? And that there is mass transit also that can be caught by way of these major corridors. Then the single family home strategy, right? A lot of these neighborhoods, so thinking about the landscape of the city of Detroit, in the neighborhoods, they're single family home communities, they're bedroom communities. And so we've seen in across the city, but specifically in these neighborhoods where there is definitely a need for investment in rehabbing homes, but also building new homes that are accessible, that create a mixed income, mixed environment, but then also the commercial corridor. And the commercial corridor is an area where Invest Detroit specifically is focused on as part of the partnership for the Strategic Neighborhood Initiative. And that commercial corridor is usually populated by retail, mixed use, mixed income development, but every neighborhood is different. And so in those on the commercial corridor, we're helping and financing real estate development to create that opportunity for our small businesses to come in and operate and provide, again, that much needed, much wanted access to products and services, resources that the residents have been asking for. And I want to stress that as part of the Strategic Neighborhood Initiative, the community engagement and the involvement of the needs of the community are really driven by the residents in the community. So it is very community minded focused. And so we've started with 3 neighborhoods. As I mentioned, there were 10. We started with 3 neighborhoods, and we're really starting to see a lot of activity and movement in those 3 neighborhoods. And if I could, Chris, I want to highlight a project that should be opening here in the next 30 days as one of the successes and wins within the neighborhood that is a result of the Strategic Neighborhood Initiative. And we'll start to see more and more of it as the year goes by, because more development is happening. But specifically on McNichols in the McNichols-Livernois area, we're getting ready we've been supporting a development that will now populate Detroit Pizza Bar. Detroit Pizza Bar will be a full service sit down, pizza centric, will include everything from gluten-free to vegan to traditional pizzas. It's a 2-story, so it has a rooftop deck component to it. And it's being developed and then operated by 2 native Detroiters, Keona Aluma and Marcus Jones. Both of them live in the city of Detroit. Keona is from the city. It's a small business going to be opening. They're hiring from the neighborhood, have a very specific strategy around that. And really it's a business that we are so proud that is going to be opening, and so proud that we're supporting in the neighborhood. But there are so many other things that we're supporting. I just want to highlight that one in particular. So we, in fact, provided the construction financing, but we also are providing the small business financing along with some of our other partners in the market to be able to put this property back into active use, because it was vacant, dilapidated building, but also create an environment where the residents in this community can access something that they haven't been able to access in some time, and be supportive of 2 people of color that are opening a new business that are focused on the community and the neighborhood.
Yeah, and that's, so important. And we're focusing on Detroit, with this conversation, but I mean, at MEDC, we note that as a statewide issue of, as the economy improved over the last 10 years, it did not improve equally. And so we saw areas, both urban and rural, that, did not see the growth that, maybe other areas saw. And so, a focus on, supporting those communities is certainly important, not only within the city of Detroit, but, obviously statewide. When we talk about, commercial lending in the current environment, what do you see as kind of the biggest barriers companies and lenders see in providing financing?
So obviously it's challenging to really understand the trajectory of the business, especially if they were negatively impacted by COVID. And I say that because there are businesses that saw an increase in their revenue and what would be perceived as an environment that had a negative impact. For those businesses that have been negatively impacted by COVID over the last year, the challenge has been, how do you get from pre-COVID to post-COVID, and what does that look like, right? And so we're spending a lot of time talking about what's your marketing strategy, what's your streams of income, and having multiple streams of income is important in order for you to be able to pivot your environment, whether it's your retail business, your storefront, but expanding into online and wholesale and things of that nature is important. So having those multiple streams of income is critical in an environment where we're analyzing, how do you come out of this? For the startup businesses, it's let's think about a realistic time frame in which you're looking at your projections and your rollout of your business, and how does that match up with the current economic environment? And I will tell you, Chris, that all year, right, all 2020, when I think most people thought that community-based lenders like Invest Detroit were not lending, we in fact were. And we want to continue to be supportive when we are in an environment where in some cases other lenders, mainly financial institutions, but even community-based lenders, are pulling back or tightening up the ropes. We're still being smart and prudent and thinking about the multiple ways that we can be supportive of small businesses and pivot with them. We're still lending. We're still here. We're still very much committed to the city of Detroit and our big four, and supportive of businesses that fall within those platforms. So knowing that we're here, I think, is one of the biggest messages that I'd like to get out of this conversation today. Is we're here, we're ready to help. Yes, we're being mindful, we're being thoughtful. We might ask more questions. We might be thinking about things a little different, but our mission, our focus, and our resources and capital to deploy in the market is no different than it was pre-COVID.
Yeah, and I think that's important. The idea that we're seeing now a lot of new programming, a lot of new federal money coming in to support small business. Some of which may not be available for several months, and we're in the process of evaluating how to utilize that money. With that in mind, just as Invest Detroit is still working and still making loans, and MEDC and our capital access programming, still has funding available. We are still in the practice of supporting small businesses that are in need of financing. So we're actually not waiting for that new money. We just are attempting to kind of simultaneously support those businesses that are affected now, but also appropriately plan for that growth moving forward. So with that in mind, I mean, we've talked a lot about small businesses in Detroit today, and from a lending, but then also a technical assistance perspective. I guess if any business owners or prospective business owners are watching this, specifically in the Detroit market, how should they get started?
So for Invest Detroit, and let me say this, Chris, I want to circle back on something that you mentioned. For those that are watching that don't know, the state and the Michigan Economic Development Corporation and Chris Cook and his team are critical in community-based lenders like ourselves' ability to deliver, right? The support that it takes from the state and the city level and with key partners is so critical in how we're able to deliver. And that includes our banking partners, right? So I like to equate this to equate community development to it takes a village, and it truly does. And I'd be remiss if I didn't acknowledge the fact that MEDC has really supported over the years Invest Detroit's initiatives and focus on being supportive in creating access to capital for small businesses in the city of Detroit. And we thank you for that, Chris. We thank the MEDC and its board members and all at the state for that continued support and those resources. How do you reach out to Invest Detroit? There are a number of ways. You can go out, obviously, on investdetroit.com. Very simple, INVEST, Detroit, DETROIT.com. And we have all our information about all of our programs, including fact sheets and different terms, as well as you can reach out to us via phone, 313-259-6368. Our application for small businesses is on our website, and it will lead you right to the process and ultimately to one of our small business lenders, being Jason Barnett and Derek Edwards at our shop. We are still actively, as I mentioned, working. And even though we're in a remote environment, we have, as a small business as well, found ways to pivot. And we understand the challenges that you all have been in, and we want to be supportive where you have capital needs. So again, Chris, our website is the best place to start, but you can also give us a call and we'll be glad to talk through your business model, your business plan, your needs for access to capital ahead of an application.
Thank you for that. And since you mentioned your website, I'll mention ours as well, and that's michiganbusiness.org is the website for MEDC, and specifically access to capital is a section under business services that has a lot of information for both business owners and for lenders that are interested in potentially utilizing our programs. So with that, it looks like we're wrapping up here. Is there anything else you wanted to add before we finish up?
No, Chris, other than, again, thank you and the MEDC for all you are doing. And again, small businesses, there are resources out there to assist you with just about anything you need. It's a matter of knowing. And so reaching out to community-based lenders like Invest Detroit, technical assistance providers, whether it's in the city of Detroit or outside. There are community-based lenders all covering the entire state. And our mission and focus is really to be supportive of the growth of our economic base, and that is primarily small businesses. So reach out to your local CDFI, community-based lender, and we are here to serve and find ways to help you with your business growth and access to capital.
Thank you very much. And
have a great day.